a chance. For anyone's watching, sorry, we're just trying to get everything loaded up. All right, I think it's officially 8 o'clock. Second edition of The Climb. Yeah, it looks a little weird for us trying to fit into the frame, but we'll make it work. There it is. Okay, there it is. It's hard because it's different. I'm over here, but it looked like I'm over there. So I got Al Venus here, and in the description described our friendship. And if you don't know, Al and I, we've been friends for 25 years. And we were just talking about it, 10 years, almost to the day when I was going through some manic episodes for the first time. And something that I think super important with my journey has been communication with friends, and honestly, I've been very fortunate because my friends like Al were the first people to notice that something was going on. And when I share my story with people, they ask like, "Oh, how did your friends know?" And I honestly have no idea. You know, they were the ones to kind of really be ahead of it, and a lot of character shows from them that they can kind of be in front of that. So I wanted to bring on Al because from 10 years ago to now, our relationship and communication has really flourished. And it's to a point where I think it's important to obviously be open with your family members, but to have someone outside your family that you could be vulnerable to open up and to bounce things around and shown that weakness that you might have something going on and be okay talking about it. So wanted to introduce Al and kind of have him talk about where our relationship's been and communication from his perspective.
Yeah, so thanks for the intro. I definitely have seen a gradual progression of our relationship as a friendship and also as getting to know each other's mental health. 10 years ago, like he said, he was going through a struggle, and it was probably easier for me as a close friend since childhood to recognize because having spent so much time with him through the years, I know his baseline. So when he started to act strange and stray from the norm, it was an immediate red flag to me as a friend that, hey, something's off. He's not being the normal AJ that I know and that I've interacted with for almost a decade at that point. And now 2 decades into our friendship and more, the communication is always a work in progress. But as you start to realize that talking to a friend can sometimes be easier than reaching out to family because they do have that separate perspective than the parental or sibling bond that you may have, that can sometimes become overbearing in those pressure situations where they're just super concerned about your well-being and they kind of lose sight of how they're going about helping you.
Yeah, I actually think we're very, I guess it would be fortunate, would be the word, to have family members, parents, with 2 intelligent, caring brothers as well.
Absolutely.
But at times it's easier for me to open up to Al about like, hey man, I'm going through something. I think I'm like really depressed. Like, what do you think? And even just this past November, I had a conversation that made me feel so good that I could talk to Al because he's been through his stuff his own, but he knows my cadence well enough to reassure what I was saying, which was really nice.
And because we have that baseline, it makes those, future occurrences of a tough situation, whether it's work stressors or personal life stressors, when you have that baseline with a friend that you've gone to before, it gets exponentially easier every time because I then become aware of what is triggering him in certain situations. He can become aware of what triggers me, and we can check in on each other, which becomes a lot more of just our regular communication and not something that's forced.
Yeah, it's been real natural, and I think the overall theme of this live stream is the climb, right? And these obstacles that we all face, and we're both people that have gone through a lot of different mountain like obstacles. But the thing is, it's been so much easier doing it together. And the climb has been hard, but when you know you have that type of support along with your family, and as we say in our nonprofit, Team Garbo, when roots are deep, when they're really deep, you know you're not really going to worry about what's to come because you have the right support system. So I think, for me this past year was a lot of different things personally and professionally, and a lot of things going on with my health too that you didn't see me make videos, you didn't see me do blogs, and there's a reason for that. I was working on myself, but it was nice to kind of go up the hill knowing I had, great support in Al and other friends too, where we worked really hard on this relationship and this communication where it's important to be vulnerable, but also from both perspectives, letting someone just talk and get stuff off their chest and letting them be heard. And I think that's important. And as I've been married now for over 6 months, that's very important for anyone. Make sure everyone's being heard. And I think that's a really good tip overall. And I think Al does a great job of that too.
Yeah, I mean, in any relationship, it has to be a two-way street. You have to know when to listen, when to give some advice, and the only way you improve with that with any given person is repetition. So the more routine those conversations are, the more a part of your normal relationship they become, it mitigates a lot of the stress of broaching the subject with a friend. And sometimes once you've reached out to a friend, I know that this has been the case for me, it makes it much easier to then go and open up to a family member about it because the initial stress of getting it off your chest is gone. You've already talked with someone that you're comfortable with talking about that topic, whether it's any kind of stressor, and it then kind of brings it down in severity when you go to a family member.
I think like what's because what you're talking about is like what I hear and what I've experienced with you, what you experience with me, is there's like a glass ceiling that people need to break through. And like, why don't, like, I mean, I could talk to it too, but like, why don't you tell the stream here, like, that moment where it's like, I'm not comfortable reaching out, but I know I have to, and breaking through that glass ceiling, because I think a lot of people are probably there right now, sure, and are uneasy about that situation.
Yeah, and it's always the most difficult making that first contact, whether it's a friend or family. But the thing I think that helps me is knowing that what else are you going to do to make it better? I can either not reach out to anyone and the stress is completely on me, or I can do something as easy as texting someone. Mm-hmm. It relieves the stress of having to talk on the phone or fully expose yourself in some senses. Mm-hmm. But just getting something out there to a friend of, hey, I'm not feeling quite myself. And it can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a huge explanation about your week, your day, whatever's causing the stress. It can just be a quick message of, hey, I'm not really feeling myself right now. And a lot of the times, if you are talking to a friend or family member, they're going to get it more often than not that, okay, something's up. And I can then help you from there. Yeah,
and even sometimes they would never know. If you don't say anything, they would never know. And I say this a lot for whoever I'm speaking on these topics with, but like, we live in a society where it's so easy to suppress feelings, thoughts, you name it, and insecurities. And when you're suppressing your feelings to the people that you love, maybe you could be good at it, and they don't know that something is going on and that you need to talk to them, and then you kind of get into this this situation where you're not feeling great, but on the outside you look just fine. And I think, back to this whole climb, right? I'm sure you can get up the mountain yourself. I'm sure you could.
Sure.
But it's a lot easier just letting someone in. And we both know from experiences that sometimes just that outside person, that friend, like, you got to let them into the situation so they can understand, and yet so you can use them as an ally. And I think that was just the perfect example this year of us climbing for the past 10 years with my mental illnesses, your health and your journeys, my journeys, and it was because we've constantly communicated and constantly gotten better to the point where we're at a situation now where it's like, if I go to Al, I'm gonna feel so much better. So it's like I need to go to Al, not because I need someone, like I'm in a crisis, I need help. I need to go to Al because I know how to get myself right, and that's part of my path.
It's part of the system. It's part of your routine now when you get into that place. And I feel like that's the same for me. It's a quick nip it in the bud kind of thing where I can address it, and I know that I'm going to get some kind of relief immediately.
Yeah.
It might not solve the problem, but it's going to be that initial step to getting myself back on track.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy. It's a commitment. It really is. So I think that is a great place for us to stop. The whole part of this being 10 to 15 minutes is just to get little nuggets, and you'll see more of Al and however we want to do this platform where we're not shrinking into the screen. But I really think the biggest takeaway here is if you're on your climb, it's a lot easier to do it with other people. You don't see people climbing Everest by themselves, so you don't have to do it either. And sometimes just breaking through that glass is the first step, and just committing to that climb with someone else and opening your heart up to someone. And if you're on the other side, letting someone be vulnerable to you and seeing where that relationship goes. I'm telling you, it makes a world difference for me. And I would imagine, and Al could talk to it too, anyone else that really opens up to a loved one or someone or friend group could really help them out. So hope everyone enjoyed that. Hope we had better quality, better stuff. If you have any questions, comments, or want more topics, we'll be trying to do this every Monday at 8. Really appreciate everyone's support.
Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure joining this week. I will definitely be on in the future. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Be well.